Just join.
Yeah, yeah.
November 18th. Okay, I call this meeting to order at 7:04 according to my computer. Do we have any public participants? I don't see any people listed. So we can move on to reports from boards. Diane Gellerette with Norwalk Historical Society.
Hi, everyone. I'm just coming from another meeting, so I have my video off, but you can hear me, I think.
Yes.
Great. I just wanted to thank everybody who participated and actually finished our First Peoples of Western Connecticut virtual lecture series. I got a lot of feedback that everybody enjoyed that, learned a lot about Indigenous peoples, and was very happy that we actually did the three series. And that was held on, the last one was on October 26th. Let me see. So on Halloween weekend, we did for the first time was have a Halloween movie night. So we turned the Mill Hill Townhouse into a theater. So we're trying out some new things and to bring people in. And we saw Young Frankenstein and the Rocky Horror Picture Show on that evening, Friday and Saturday. So on Veterans Day, which was just November 11th, we participated in the National Bells of Peace by tolling the bell at the Townhouse 21 times in honor of our veterans. So we were very pleased and happy to do that. I also attended the veteran ceremony at Norwalk City Hall, which is very moving event that we have every year. And on Monday night, on November 13th, some of you may have attended the Gratitude on the Green, which is a collaboration with probably about 7 or 8 organizations in Norwalk to bring the community together and to think about gratitude in your life. So we also had some live music with the Norwalk Conservatory of the Arts. They sang a song from Sister Act, and this is they're very excited because they are now an accredited college, which is very exciting for them. We are partnering with the social studies teacher at Norwalk High School, Trevor Klein, and we have not had high school students at Mill Hill in a long time, and he is teaching a course on history of Norwalk. The kids were very excited. Some of them had not been there since they were in 3rd grade with the Little Red Schoolhouse program. So we're looking at expanding our educational programming. So having high school students at Mill Hill was a wonderful thing, and it will probably be another set of students coming in the spring out to Mill Hill. And we're still signing up our 2nd grade classes for the Little Red Schoolhouse program in December. The other thing that we're doing is we're looking at renovating the lower level of the jail, or the old lockup that's in Lower Mill Hill. So so we're moving along with plans for with doing the renovation of the cells, which is at the lower part of that building. So we're getting very excited about that. And something that some of you know, because I know Eric has sent out an email, there is a website that we've been working on with the American Friends of Lafayette. It is now complete. So if you wanted to take a look at it, the website is LafayetteCTTrail.org. And it is now live, and it basically shows the trail that he took through Connecticut. It was pretty much 26 towns within Connecticut, and there will be events happening from 2024 and 25. So this is the bicentennial of his visit to the United States. So that is all set, and we had gotten a grant from Connecticut Humanities, a quick grant, in order to put that together. So we're very excited, and there will be lots of things coming up for next year. But that's basically my report. And if anybody has any questions, please ask.
All right, thank you, Diane.
I actually did have
Oh,
a question.
Lisa,
Is
okay.
the Lafayette, is that what Lynn Friedman's talking about?
Yes, that is it. So the
Okay.
website is live and
Okay.
it's done. So they will be updating it throughout the year, next year and a half. But we're very happy with it. The one thing is we are having a holiday open house on December 10th. It's a Sunday, 1 to 4 at the museum. So not at Mill Hill this time, but at the Norwalk Historical Society Museum. And there are pieces that we have been purchasing for the collection that we love to have everybody see. So it's free, and only thing you have to bring is some items to we're doing a food drive for the Filling in the Blanks organization here in Norwalk. So, but that's it. But come on, December 10th, Sunday, 1 to 4.
Okay. Next up, Susie and et al. For Lockwood Matthews Museum.
Hello, everyone. We are winding down our season, which was very successful. We had a great gala. It was the most successful to date. And the last lecture was a lecture featuring Ron Darling, Bob Wirtz, and Kelly Franco, which was also very well attended and successful. As I was saying earlier, I wanted to say a big thank you to Commissioner Jim Fryer, because he recommended the Blue that put together this wonderful lecture. Kelly was an amazing speaker, as well as keeping everybody together and making them talk. And a great big thank you to all of you for supporting our season, and also our partners, our community partners, the Norwalk Historical Society and Diane Gillarette, the Norwalk Public Library and Sherelle Harris, Stepping Stones Museum, Rhonda Keast, for lending their spaces, collaborating with us, supporting us for the entire season. We're putting together a new impressive roster of speakers, as well as fun and educational programs for the spring of 2024. And Stepping Stones has already told us that they are generously offering support once again for the spring season. And we're going to be able to borrow their beautiful and high-tech multimedia gallery. Thank you for listening, and if I don't see you, happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
Back at you.
So now I jump in with sharing our little presentation on what's going on inside and outside, actually, the mansion. So we need to share the screen. Am I let in? All right. I told you, I warned you that I was going to have trouble doing this. So, well,
You're already in Zoom, Patsy.
Yeah,
I
You just
know.
gotta find,
don't push
Yeah.
that button.
Okay, how do I get out of this now?
Pick another tab at the top where plus, like, to get.
Go to new share.
Yeah, you want to keep this tab open because this is the Zoom meeting, but maybe
Yeah,
there's a
okay.
plus up there at the top. Maybe it has more selections.
Patsy, on the top, you should have like a green green icon. You see the
Which
green-
says new share, which I hit. right?
Okay, okay. And
Okay,
then a window will come up on your
yeah,
screen showing which program or pages you can share with other
yeah,
participants.
right, well, that's what I'm not seeing. That's my problem. Now, I practiced this afternoon and here we go.
You're trying
Hmm.
to share an internet tab down at the bottom?
I did that originally,
Down
but
at the
now I've
bottom, you have all your tools. Which one are you trying to share? PowerPoint?
yes,
I don't even see that open on your screen.
It's that P with the with like reddish
yeah,
brown.
right,
That's
right.
PowerPoint.
Okay.
There you go, Patsy. You
Ah.
got it.
I warned you. I warned you.
You got it, Patsy.
I
Is
get
this
it.
a doll
get a-
morgue?
C- for this technology. That's for
It's a
darn sure.
morgue.
Anyway, I just want to
Who
briefly
killed
try
all
to.
those children?
Those are all of that's our doll exhibit that we had to obviously move every single thing out, but I included this because it shows the care that we did to pack all of our wonderful treasures. And we had expert help. You'll recognize that lady helping us pack and get out. And this was some of the things that we moved, and the moving to move out of the mansion cost $500,000 to
Ooh,
do the job. So it was an immense job. And then and this again is more of the things that we've now have in local storage at our Strawberry Hill site. This is probably about 10-15% of the materials that we had to move. This is our support things. It's not our huge collection, which was the most costly part. But again, we're packing all of our equipment, and we had to pack up all of the silver vault, and Midge Lopat and Darren are there doing all that hard work for us. But again, this went throughout the whole building, and this is the basement, how it looked to some degree. And this piece here is we found this way back in one of the caverns of the basement. This is apparently from the original kitchen, and we're trying to research it and find exactly where it was, whether it was in a downstairs kitchen or upstairs, and if possible to bring it into the gift shop area when we get back into the building. But it was extensive, and part of our storage is this trailer is absolutely full of materials that are remnants of the mansion that we have preserved and saved, and probably in addition, a lot of other pieces from some of the other buildings that were part of the estate. The laundry, there are 3 huge sinks. So it was a lot of work, but the important piece is that they are maintained. But then the challenge is all of these things in here have to find a home when we go back into the building, and whether or not we're going to be able to store them all within the mansion, or we're going to have to find other places to maintain them. This is that piece from the kitchen going on to the trailer. Really, I was very excited when we found that. That was absolutely buried under all kinds of things under the by the bowling alley. This is part of the inside of the trailer with stuff that we are obligated to protect and save, and we do. And then moving on, this is opening the bids, and I included this because the bid process was vigorous. We had to go out to bid 3 times in order to get trades to participate in this program. So, and we still have to go out with 2 or 3 additional small pieces of the work that needs to get done. And then we did finally break ground, cleared out the building and we're ready to go in early June. And so that's just a little bit for history, but these are the things that I really wanted you to see. The protection budget for protecting the integrity of the building and all of the wonderful finishes that we have was estimated to be $600,000. So it's ongoing all the time, but all of the access for any supplies and carpentry or whatever, or any of the work that's being done is going through the front entrance. The doors have been removed. We have a separate grant of from the state of 150,000 matching funds with one of our trustees to restore the doors, and we're trying to get that done so that when the building is finished, we can get the doors back on and they will be absolutely splendid. Then this is the entrance. This is looking down all the way down through the building to the dining room. And of course, this is the same route on the basement floor. This is where the bowling alley is. So the bowling alley is that pretty much that same distance. Again, this is some of the beginning of the work that they did to box out and protect all of the finishes, including the railing around the rotunda. The elevator has been shut down so that they cannot use it for construction because it's a lightweight elevator, and we wanted to be very careful that it didn't get damaged during this process. So all of the work people have to use the servant staircase to bring materials upstairs. I think we've mentioned that the flooring, this is the music room on the first floor, and all of this boards flooring that you see are the flooring from the second floor. We had to take up all of the flooring in a segued manner on the second floor in order to install all of the new wiring and the fire suppression system. So there were 2 layers of floor on the second floor that had to be taken up in this manner. And each board is numbered and itemized, and the plan to put everything back where they found it. So it was pretty amazing. This is Tom here, Livingston, with doing one of the tours, but this is the salon. And again, these are additional floors from another room upstairs. But you'll notice the floor covering here on this floor. All of the floors have been covered in this manner in order to protect them. Back to the basement. All of the stone flooring has been removed from the basement. It had to be done by hand. Again, they had to bring it up the one staircase that you take to go to the restrooms, and all of the bluestone, which is 3 inches thick, is stored on site. I'm not sure if I have a picture of that here, but it's all on site. And we have found that a lot of it was cracked and did really crumble as we were taking it out. So we're now estimating how much we have to return to the basement, and whether we have to buy additional bluestone. But we're working with the state and preservation of putting cement floors in areas that are storage areas in the basement and not going to be used for programming. And that will save us money, but also it is really a better product for our archives and other storage areas. Okay, so the next one, oh, here we are. Here's all of the stone outside. And as I said, that had to be brought up one by staircase, obviously one piece at a time because they're extremely heavy. So this is the bowling alley, and all of the venting and the heating system of the vents are all taken down, and they're working on laying out the floors. And as you recall, the heating systems are going to be in the dirt floor and then covered over with the bluestone. So that's why everything had to come out. And well, this is one of our workmen there. Okay, again, this is Tom and David, right? That's you, David. And Robert Cavello, who is our owner's rep and has been really such an amazing help for us. But we're now upstairs where some of this flooring is being taken up. Okay, the next one is the entrance, the gift shop, as you might know it. All of these ceilings had to be taken down in order to get the wiring in. This is all part of the base bid. The alternates that we are now working on are replacing the ceilings here and in the kitchen and other areas. So it's just one thing after another. So this is what you're looking at the floors, and this is all the new wiring and plumbing that is in the process of being installed between the joists. And we found that the joists really, most of them are 4 inches wide, and they run from 10 to 16 inches deep. And so that's why all the floors came out. These are going in. And now we're in the process of putting some of the floors back. But again, we're showing how it all looks. This is the fire suppression system, and they're cutting through all of the joists in order to get that in place. This is the staircase that they're using to go up and downstairs from one floor to another. So they're not using the grand staircase at all. That was part of the contract, that they could not use that in order to protect it. And so this has all been encased on each floor all the way up to the attic. Then on the outside, in order to get water pressure and the water into the building for the fire suppression system, we had to go back all the way to almost the front door of Stepping Stones, and to dig down 4 feet and to install new pipelines. This work is pretty much done, and we had to install a walkway over the top of where the piping is in order to meet all the regulations. This is, well, you can see Stepping Stones, how it goes all the way over to Stepping Stones, right through their circular parking lot. It was really amazing. Again, we're stockpiling all the materials on site, and then anything that needed to be removed professionally, all of that materials is being shipped to Manchester, Connecticut, where there are sites there for any potential contaminated soil. So this is, if you haven't driven by, this is what you see on the outside. And then from the south lot, it's really an extensive site that we have. So moving forward with the project, we're a little behind schedule, but we're working on ways that we can get back on schedule. But the final part of the project that we're now focusing on, the planning and the design stage, are the alternates. And I think some of you might recall when we originally showed you the plans, what our dreams are to have done with the end of this project, with including the alternates, is a meeting room or a conference room or an educational center in the basement. This is under the billiards room. And in a previous project, we installed a new egress right around the corner here from my pointer in order to meet ADA requirements, and that was done, I think probably about 6 years ago in order to get us to this point so that we could now begin to have programming and using the basement. Okay, then this is potentially what the bowling alley can look like in the future. We're not restoring the bowling alley in this project at all. But the area to the right where this one man with a white shirt is, that is the entrance to the archives. So he would be standing out where this sign on the door is. But our plan is to put the flooring back in, and this would be a little library, little office for our, hopefully one day we'll have a full-time curator. That's on our dream. But then to either side of this area in the basement will be our new archival location. Are these, we actually have all of these boxes that are filled with we call them fabrics, but they're really the gowns and the personal belongings of the Lockwoods and the Matthews that we use in exhibits. And they've been stored on the 3rd floor for many years. And our dream with this alternate is to get the moving shelves in and to get them all down into areas where we can access them and people can potentially expand our programs for letting people borrow any of our materials. This is the idea that we have to restore the kitchen, actually, which is the gift shop. And this is our hope. Of course, we don't have any ceiling in there now, but we're planning to put one back in, and to have something like this, stripping the hard all the framing. It's got multiple paint coats on it, and to try to get it back to as close to what it was during the Matthews era, especially. This is currently what the kitchen looked at like before we started. They had the kitchen, but then these tables were our workstation for a lot of our help. And then behind on this side of the table, that's where we have our printing machine. So we had a kitchen, a meeting room, a printing shop. Not very efficient and not very helpful. So our goal is to get all this separated and to have space that we can really be more productive for and better use. So each year, I know you all know that we've been running the Gallus and Susie Institute. I think that, what is it, 12, 13 years now, Susie? We've been running
since
the Gala.
2012. 2012 was the first one.
Right. And each year we've been doing better. And this year we did exceptionally well. We're really excited about it. But part of the gala is to raise money for our educational programs and for restoration. And recently, over the last few years, we've been raising money to restore light fixtures. And this one, of course, is obviously in the library, and it was very featured in the recent movie, Mr. Harrigan's Phone. But this is a project that goes throughout the whole building, and we have been collecting original pieces, and we have been trying to buy additional period pieces. And it's one of our big restoration projects. And this year in the gala, we raised around $11,000 to put towards restoring all the lights. Now, all of these light fixtures had to come down through this process, and they are being stored by fine arts stores in Long Island City. And then they have to come back and they have to obviously all be rehung. Some of them were electrified and some of them have not been. They're just the gas settings are in place. So these, well, let me go back to this one. This is one that is in the salon, and it's scheduled to go to one of the bedrooms upstairs. But I just included this so you see how intricate and ornate they are, and why everything is so costly. But these smaller ones are ones that we're in the foyer in the front hall, and we have this fixture. This is what there were 4 of these, and we're in the process of having raising the money and getting the money available to restore this one, and then to create 3 more that would be on the first floor, 2 on the first floor and 2 in front of the bedrooms. Let's see, I think that might be it. So it's a lot of very intricate work, complicated. We have wonderful crews on site. We're very happy with the people that are doing the work for us under Consigli. They're from all over the state of Connecticut, and the travel time is amazing for them. They arrive at 6 o'clock and they leave like at 3:30 in order to avoid the traffic. But as we go through this the next few months, I'll try to learn how to do this a little bit faster, and keep you posted as to what's going on. So I don't know if anybody has any questions that you'd like to ask, and I'll try to answer them for you. No
Find
questions?
anything other than those cabinets that you guys didn't know about before?
Pardon?
Did
I-
you
I'm
find anything other than those cabinets that you didn't know before? That were like hidden away?
Yeah, and moving out, I went from attic to basement literally, and we had to move really everything out. And I found a lot of pieces, fabric pieces, of the front door, for instance. One piece we found was a grill. And in order to reproduce there were 2 grills on the front door that I had never seen up in all the years I've been involved in the mansion. And we thought we had lost one, and we found one. And our architects indicated that to reproduce it, it would have cost $40,000.
Me too. I mean,
This grill. Yeah.
Huh.
So we found a lot of pieces of the building that I've put them in categories of electric and wood pieces and plumbing, so that we can start. I have this idea of taking all of these boxes that I put together and have a professional scavenger hunt and give everybody a piece of the mansion and have them find where it goes. That might be a fun thing before we reopen.
A new fundraiser.
Yeah. Yeah.
Patsy, is there a hope of the second floor being more preserved,
No,
Right.
this is what people have to understand. This was a mechanical project. And we originally said $17 million. To date, we raised 14,750,000. So we pulled off these alternates that I mentioned, redoing the kitchen and the gift shop, and some space for our staff to move our staff upstairs so that we don't have 4 and 5 people in a small room, and to get the printing thing within distance of people so they don't have to run back and forth, and just to be more efficient, and to allow us to get to the second floor with tours and more people, because there was no electricity there, and people find that hard to absorb. because we were able to function by extension cords and things like that through the years. But after dark, we have to use flashlights to go upstairs. And so this much at least will allow us to have tours on rainy days and whatever. And then there was no heat. And so the whole heating system from the basement to the attic, it will be heated now. The fire suppression, the next time I'll show you some of those pictures. The fire suppression system is extensive, and I find it, for me, intrusive after spending so much time in the building, but it was required by the state, and in order for us to be able to use the basement for programming or getting people up to the second floor, it was absolutely required. This is not, there's nothing decorative in this project, other than the light fixtures are decorative, but the trustees have been raising money, and we did Susie wrote a grant for was it up to 49,000, that in order to help us with it, and the timing didn't work out right. We didn't get that, but we're focused on searching for grants that we can to work on some of the light fixtures. But the other pieces are essential for us to put the kitchen back together. I think I skipped over the picture of what the kitchen should look like. And somebody got playful and put one of our people in here, shopped at whatever. I did not do that, obviously, but this is really the kitchen with the two windows. And originally, this window behind the chef, we had asked the state to change that into a door so that we could have direct access into the kitchen and not have to go through the building in order to get there. And the preservation office would not allow us to do that. And so when we have a gala or any function, everything is pretty much done outside, and the food is passed through this other window. That's how we have run galas and other events. So this is not a cooking kitchen. It's a prep kitchen, basically, and serving kitchen. So we're limited because the state would not allow us to do this, to have a cooking kitchen, because we needed that door in order to do something like that. And they would not allow it. Any intrusion on the outside of the building.
You would think they'd want another form of egress on the other side, but
What you mean, in the kitchen?
yeah, like another way out, you know.
Well, we tried. We planned, to potentially put a patio out here so that we then could maybe have a little coffee shop, for our tour, for our visitors and for our program. And we had to put that aside at this point. But this is one of the alternates, is getting the kitchen functioning. Otherwise, we're not going to have a kitchen that functions until we raise more money to do it.
Now, does the board have a long range planning? Like, do they have like not what we're doing right now, but
Yeah.
restoring
Yeah.
the upstairs, like that might be way out, like 20 years from now.
Well, I don't know if it's 20 years out. We sort of broken it. And many times we are dictated for what the next thing is because of the condition of the building itself, that something needs more attention first, for preservation. And right now, the third floor and the attic are not going to be ever open to the public, because of fire codes. There's only one staircase, so they are not planned, but we have plans to, expand our tours for the second floor. And then we have a lot of plans for programming in the basement. And ultimately soon I can see us really focusing on the bowling alley within the next 10 years. But to get the archives going down there and to have a learning area for students under the billiards room.
Mhm.
So yeah, and
wonderful.
yeah. So it all depends on and the other piece that I feel very optimistic about, once we get this done, I think we can really have an opportunity to go for some federal funding, which the way grants are written right now, we didn't apply, we weren't able to apply for that. So that would be the next step. But we're putting in the budget, $3 million for this upcoming budget year in order to finish off the alternates. And hopefully we'll be back in the building December, hopefully. But we won't know until, very late next year how it's going, because it's a very, very complicated project, as you can see.
Patsy, could I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
It sounds like you're really clearing out a lot of space. Are you going to gain a lot of footage on the second or the basement, first and second floors?
The basement, yes, big time. That is where we're moving all of the archives down to the basement. And that is about, I would say that's probably about 30% of the basement space that would be used for that. The bowling alley probably is about 20%. I'm just roughly doing that. But then on the other side where I showed you the meeting room, that's in the basement, and that has just been storage. But I'm trying to really plan right now where we can put storage in the basement, because well, all of the things that are in the trailer, we'll have to reassess and figure out where they can go. But we have saved every piece that is of any significance to the building or to the estate. As I mentioned earlier, there are things that we have a lot of glass, that window glass that is quite thick, and we thought it was from the mansion, but then we've researched it and it's not. But it is original French glass, and it was in the building. And so this clean out has never been done since the city took over the building. And then as buildings have been knocked down through the years, when the police court building went up and things were just put in the basement. So this was a huge clean out process. And then we're going to have to figure out moving it back in.
So in percentage wise, how much new space do you think you have?
Usable space. Oh boy, that's a tough one. The space, oh boy.
Hang on, Patsy.
I would say probably 1,500 to 2,000 square feet.
Or
I'm only pulling that out because of my years being in the real estate business. But we can get that figure for you, but
No,
off
I'm
the top
just
of my head, yeah.
just curious, because it seems like
Yeah.
you're finding a lot of stuff that you didn't know were there, and looking at those cabinets that you took out, that's a pretty significant piece of
Yeah, it's great.
furniture there. So that's got to open up quite a bit of space.
But it has to be used in the building, or it has to go back in the building for storage. Yeah. And so we're assessing that, and the architects were just working on that piece, whether or not they don't think it was in the original kitchen on the first floor. There was a kitchen in the basement as well. And that pretty much now has been turned into half of it anyway, into the mechanical room. So all of the mechanicals come in that way to the building. But there's an oven down there, brick oven. And so, we're assessing everything. And as we move through this project, we'll be learning more and coming up with more ideas.
I know every time
It's
I
a
clean the building,
project that's gonna go on forever. Don't worry about it ending.
The,
It's
the-
gonna go on
and-
forever.
and to answer your question, it's gonna make it more, give us the ability to do more things on the first two floors. If we can do the presentation room for visitors coming in and move that to the basement, and it's gonna give us opportunities to do things in the billiard room. Maybe we'll actually get a billiard table one day, kind of deal. And moving the offices off the first floor too is a big help, because that's gonna allow them to do more things on the first floor that visitors can get to, because we are limited, as Patsy said, to the first two floors for visitors only because of the fire access. So.
And the other
Well-
piece is we're only open during the warm weather. We have to close January through January, February, and March because there's no heat in these areas. So now we're going to be able to move into a year-round schedule. So that's going to expand our programming. And we've had trouble with that schedule with the educational piece because fitting the kids into our schedule it's challenging, and we've done really well with it, but this opens the door and opportunity to expand our programming and get people more and use the building more, get more people in there.
So will all the offices go up to the third floor then?
They're going up to the second floor of the servants' quarters, which is the space over the kitchen and the gift shop. That's sort of like a separate wing at the back of the building.
Okay.
And so on the second floor, Susie created a servants' quarters exhibit. I don't know how many years ago that was, Susie. But she-
2015 to
Okay.
17.
So she came up with this brilliant idea and she said, Patsy, one day I want to show you something. So she took me up to this mess up there and she envisioned this exceptional exhibit, which we won a national award for, by the way. And so that's on the second floor, up over the gift shop and kitchen. And then above that, we're going to move our staff. And so they'll be on that floor. We're adding a toilet and a sink on that floor for their use. And the elevator is right near there, taking them down to the basement if they need any additional access. So it's going to change our programming. It's going to change our year. And it's going to be protect the building and bring it into the current time, which, with no heat and no lights, people don't believe that is the condition because of really we've been very creative through the years using the building as best as we could.
Patsy,
There's efficiencies going in there too, because we don't cool the building in summer, and on hot days like we had a couple this year, the mansion had to be closed because it was too hot in the mansion. They are putting UV protection
In the windows.
windows that'll act as insulation as part of the efficiency as part of this project. So that'll help UV light getting on the wood and all that kind of stuff. So we don't have to keep lowering opening blinds, and it's going to protect any heat or cooling loss through the windows. So, and you won't know it's
David, you
there.
had a question? David?
well, a comment and a question, just to be
okay.
clear, so we're clear with everyone, the move of the archives to the basement doesn't happen unless we get the additional funding for the alternates. And I
And the
believe
kitchen.
that's
Mm.
and the kitchen. And is that true of the offices as well?
Yes, that's another.
So-
There are
so-
5 alternates, right?
Yeah, none of those pieces are going to happen without additional funding. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that. And I'm working on the capital budget now, but as we know, the city has spent literally all of our capital money on schools for the next, I don't know how many years. So it's going to be tough to come up with the funding for this city-owned building. So
how much
Now-
money are we talking about?
Where I'm in the middle of getting estimates from the contractors. We finished the design work, and they told me they would get me estimates by early December. But we had done rough estimates a couple of years ago, and we're looking at $3 million. That's pretty much how it's going to come in. But that's the process we're going through. I don't have finite numbers, but it'll be in that range. And that's pretty much what we estimated, David. I'm sure you'll remember years
Yep.
back, we estimated that this project was going to be 17 million. That was, I hate to say it, but that was probably 5 years ago. So, and there's been a little escalation. So we're
Yep.
now looking at 17.5 million. We have 14,750,000 currently between the city and the state. The state at 8 million and the city for 6,750,000. Over several years, in several budgets for the city. So that's it, guys.
All right.
Thank
Okay.
you. I love that.
Thank you.
I really, I look forward to those kind of updates because it really brings it to
Yeah.
life, what's
Yeah.
going on. And
Well,
what-
it's really
when we
hard.
vote on
It's
things,
such a
it's
dangerous
problem.
site that we can't let a lot of people in, I mean, it's, those floors are all torn up and
Yeah.
every day it changes. So, and the basement is, very rough with all of the dirt, and then we've taken out all the the 1960s boiler and everything. One of the things that we're doing for the future is that we did some asbestos cleanup on the original boiler because it's one of our long-term programs that we want to try to have a mechanical historic tour separate from the other tours. So we did clean up on that to get that ready, and that's right outside of the bowling alley. So how do I unshare me?
You're all set.
You unshared me? Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Gosh. Taking apart and reassembling a museum. So next up, reports, buildings. Is that, does David have anything for us?
Just a couple of small things. The same report I've given, I think, every month for the last 2 years when I've been here. Just trying to close out the project on Smith Street between the barn and the jail, the ADA work. We're down to negotiating the last payment with the contractor, and DPW has asked for a few changes. So we're working those out with DPW, and hopefully I'll have all that wrapped up by the end of the year so that we can go get our reimbursement from the state for the $625,000 grant we got to pay for all that and get that closed. The BCA and Associates did come in and do their survey work. We'll be getting a report from them soon that's going to tell us how to preserve the walls inside on the first floor of the jail. There's some mortar repair to be done, but more importantly, we want to preserve all of the graffiti that the prisoners wrote in 1800 on the walls because it's really amazing. So that's really the first step to starting the interior project is, okay, before we do anything, we need to understand how we deal with that. So we're going to do that. That is, I think that's pretty much it on buildings.
Yeah.
Diane we worked to finally get a new lock on the schoolhouse door. So that was an ordeal, but everything else is pretty good. Nothing else is broken, knock on wood, that I know of.
I got another request for the lease on Print Center. Did you get that also? I keep getting that. I guess should that go to it also went to who's ever in charge of financials in the city, I think.
We'll just need to, are they requesting just an extension? They probably need more years just to, before they do any more work or something. I don't know.
Right.
You can send it to me and I'll look at it.
Okay.
We'll just need Corporation Council to update the lease.
Okay.
Then it'll have to go to the council.
All right.
Have to go to land use in the council.
Excuse me, what was that for?
A lease for the Contemporary Print Center. That's all part of the city's buildings.
It's the old carriage house.
The carriage
over
bus.
Carriage
Yeah.
house, yeah.
Mansion, Matthews Park, that building.
Okay.
They have an existing lease. If you do any renovations or anything, if they do any renovations or things like that, it's really hard to get any grant funders or funders to do those unless you have a certain term left on your lease, like
Yeah.
usually 15 years. And I haven't talked to them, but I'm sure that's what it is.
Got it. Okay.
Cemeteries, I haven't checked recently. Then financials.
I've done cemeteries. I did
Oh, you
a
did?
cleanup
Okay,
of.
sorry.
I did a cleanup of Kellogg Comstock Cemetery by
okay.
myself. I cleaned the sign and I put D2 cleaner on all the stones, and I had worked with Parks and Recs and they were able to get DPW to remove this giant dead tree, so it didn't fall on any more tombstones. And I'm hoping to put cleaner on the stones on Brookside. We repaired the post. There was the split rail fence had a broken post. I had the handyman fix that, and I want to put cleaner on that if I can get to it before it gets too cold. And the flagpole at Pine Island needs to be restrung, and Facilities and Maintenance has a company that does that, and I'll just have to call them and get that done. But so we did something on cemeteries.
Oh, okay. Okay, so financials. Mr. Multiple Hat.
So I just got the budget packages from the city for the operating and capital budget, and I'm hopefully going to crank those out over the next few days and get those submitted back in. I mean, the big asks on the capital side are, it's pretty straightforward, is the money for the mansion. And then we need some additional funding. We'll probably ask for around $300,000 to finish the jail, the interior of the jail. Pushing out any more fund. We were going to start a renovation of the basement of the museum, Lockwood House, but I'm pushing that out. We're going to use some of the money we have to do some light renovations over in the ground floor of the health department to accommodate the city's museum collection and get all that straightened out before we launch that project. Plus, we need the capital. The two most important projects are the mansion and to a lesser degree, getting the jail done to move forward. So that's it on that, but I'll have all that in. The operating budget's pretty straightforward as usual.
Great. Terrific. Now on to old business. Demolition delay on 11 Marvin Street. I think we're at a point now. We had the owners came on and talked last month when we didn't have a quorum, but I think they'd already planned to demolish the house anyway and weren't going to consider any alternatives is what I gather. They chose not to attend any more meetings, so at this point, I think we'll just ride out the delay, which is put in process by Diane Cece of East Norwalk. And that's going till December 6th. So does anyone have any comments on how that has come about, or how we go about this sort of, to us, seeming unending demolition of houses and buildings that are in our city? And Todd is raising his hand.
They have, I'll let
Oh,
Todd
who's
speak.
first?
I was gonna say,
Okay.
they haven't shown us any documentation saying why it's so bad and it's gonna fall apart. Like Eric said, last time, they didn't have an inspection done. So they're saying all these things, but there's no proof.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't matter. They can lie all they want, and at the end of 120 days, they can, make it a pile of sticks. I think, and I looked at the Zillow or whatever real estate site I could find that showed some interior shots, and whatever the interior, there is no interior detail. It's long gone. 1873 is a conjectural date, I think. So I think the best you could do is ask them to allow it to be documented digitally, not with film, and have those images put into the history room with whatever research can be, whatever information can be found. I think that's where we are at this point.
Right.
It's not listed. So
Right.
But isn't the burden of proof on us to identify whether it's on the National Register of Historic Places, or that we can find something that's of significant historical importance there? I mean, we put a temporary hold on it, but that's only for a period of time, for 120 days, I think. Once 120 days are up, they can do whatever they want. Right?
that's
So-
that's the problem with demolition delays. As my my source, once said, it only works if you work it. And this is a tough one to defend, I have to say, unless somebody can come up with some research that shows that something significant, either the building itself is significant, or it was a significant architect or owner, or something happened there.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to defend.
I actually went over and looked at that the other day, and I noticed that there's another house on the same corner. If you go to I forget what the name of the street is, but if you go to the other corner, okay, there's another similar type house that looks like nothing's been done to it. But 11 Marvin looks like there's been a lot of work done over the past couple of years. Siding on it looks different. I have no idea what the inside looks like, but it looks like all new windows. All the old windows were probably taken out, new ones put in. I would think that, it'd be hard pressed to find anything of structural nature on the inside that would change anybody's mind as being significant, historically significant. And if you wanted it to get it close to what the one on the opposite corner looks like, it's just no way it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's going to be difficult to defend.
Yeah.
As a significant, architect. I mean, it's a really nice house. There's absolutely no reason to demolish it except for greed. But we don't have a lot of ammunition.
Well, could we have been tougher with them at the very, very beginning because, you know, I remember last month when they were in talking, they seemed pretty frustrated that nobody told them what to do in the very beginning. So they were kind of reluctant, not kind of, they were very reluctant that they wanted to put any, to go out and start getting inspections done and so forth. I mean, if we had started this earlier, you know, we could have threatened them with a 120-day delay. And I think what they probably did is they looked at, you know, they only had, like about 45 days to go from last meeting to the, you know, the expiration of 120 days. So they could say, you know, why should we spend any more money? By the time we spent the more money and gave it to them, you know, they're not going to find anything anyway. So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So I think we're left with, and I do a lot of this kind of work for, and not that I'm volunteering to do this, you understand, but a lot of work like this for Historic American Building Survey, Historic American Engineering Record, Historic American Landscape Survey, and for the most part, those programs just turned 75 or 75 years old, I think. For the most part, the reason that the documentation required by those programs takes place is because you're going to lose the resource. It's going to be demolished or changed significantly. On a good day, you're documenting something which includes at its highest level not only large format, perspective corrected archival black and white negatives, but measured drawings and research and a lot of other things.
Yeah.
But for the most part, right now, it's because buildings are either going to be demolished or engineering structures are going to be demolished or substantially changed. So
Yeah.
that puts us in a situation here where, you know, you default to at least you have the pictures and the research. Because you're not going to stop these guys. I mean, they've had pretty much every right.
So how do we go about getting pictures then?
Well, you could, I mean, Dana
they're
could
not gonna-
photograph you. I mean, you could, I am not going to, much as I'd like to, I am not going to volunteer to do this for free because that is a road down which I do not want to go. You might,
And even if we begged you a little bit,
what was that?
if we begged a little bit, would that help?
Right. Not really. I mean, you know, I mean, Dana may be able to do it. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, you shoot the photo, you shoot all the, I mean, I'm happy to help somebody learn how to do it, which is pretty simple, especially in the digital world.
So would that mean that you would have to get into the house though, right?
Well, I mean, you could, you know, for the interiors, in this case, if we could find out, if we could get the images from the original images from the, in fact, this might even be a way to do it, is get the original images from the
Zillow.
real estate site. And use
They
those.
said it was never listed. They bought it from a friend.
Pardon me? Well, yeah, but they exist because I saw them.
I'm saying they bought it from a friend. It was never even put on the market, they said.
Yeah, I think
Maybe,
we
but
say that, but Zillow still took pictures of it. It may never have
I
gone
don't
on the
know.
market.
I remember they said they bought it off of a friend.
it's
Right.
realtor.com is where I found it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because that's got the interiors, or they might just be willing to, since they're gonna win in the end, they might just be willing to let somebody go in there and photograph it.
So,
Yeah.
in my opinion, you're missing an opportunity to at least make an example out of this. You know, Diane Cece filed the complaint. You could hold a public hearing
Right,
and ask Diane to get an army of people to come out. And at
absolutely.
least it'll be a lot of publicity And, you know, that's a kind of a warning to other people who are considering doing the same thing. And also might remind the council people on the ordinance committee who voted down extending the demo delay to 180 days, as we'd requested. Here's one we're losing. Here's one you didn't help us on.
Right.
And we
Well,
still
I mean,
need, we still need to change that, and they need to see, yeah, stuff is coming down, and you had an opportunity to help us under state law, and you didn't take it.
yeah.
In fact, you
I
turned
wanna
us
just-
down directly. So
Kind of,
I'm all for going for it,
absolutely. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
if the,
or
we have
not.
to-
I mean, whatever you want to do. I'm not on the commission, so I'm just
as
telling
long
you.
as the delay is in effect, you guys can hold a public hearing. The delay ordinance says may hold a public hearing, so not will, but may. Should be will, but it's may.
But you
Right.
got some FOI times you have to meet. You have some notice times, so you may be
Better
running
will.
out of time on
I
it.
think.
I think we've run out of time because I think we only have another 2 weeks to go.
Yeah, so it's kind of, the time for a public hearing is kind of past, but it's worth a shot.
But that's what I was saying, that in the future that we've got to do these things a lot earlier.
Yeah, it's not enough time. I've
Yeah.
done it many public hearings, and just the notice with the newspaper, it's
You can't do it.
it's really onerous. So it's too
So
late.
the best you could maybe do at this point is publicize the fact that it's being, all right, I'll relent, I'll shoot it. But the best you could do at this point is get some press coverage on the documentation. There's a double-edged sword, because that might lead developers to believe that, hey, if I let them just, shoot a few pictures and I can do whatever I want.
Well, basically they can. So, yeah.
Yeah, anyway, so, but at
Well,
least
it's
you
a
get
good-
that.
It's just a question of, the developer says, how much money do I have to spend? Or can I afford to spend to wait these guys out? Otherwise, it may be cheaper to go ahead and, it may not be, for all intents and purposes, maybe the whole inside of the house was gutted years and years ago. And all you have is just like a big shell in there, and which he says, okay, yeah, I'm not gonna spend any money, or I'll go in and I'll take all the pictures you want because it's not gonna prove anything.
Yeah, and 120 days doesn't inflict enough pain.
Right.
Right.
But the public hearing does, I always found that the threat of a public hearing and the public, embarrassment, nobody wants that.
Right.
Homeowners, developers, nobody wants that. So,
And David brings
it's a
up
tool that we could use.
David
Absolutely.
brings up an excellent point, is that nobody wants to go in front of a public hearing and argue that they want to tear a house down that may have there may be some historical significance to it. And it sounds like you're covering it up if you don't want to go ahead and go through the process. So
Right.
I think the public hearing, what we should do is probably ask for a public hearing right off the bat.
Right. That is
Yeah.
probably the best way to do it, because then,
Can't wait till there's only 2 weeks left to do it.
Right.
no, I'm totally with you. And to go back to that, I will photograph it, but I will not research it.
And
Somebody else.
actually, if you brought this up to the ordinance committee, it was before my time, so I can't take any, I'm not gonna take any abuse for that one. So,
Yeah.
but
Well, I
you know-
believe your predecessor said it was a taking. He referred to it as a taking if we extended it to 180
Well, it's-
days. It was ridiculous.
already-
see, that's what happens, that's what happens when you get these lawyers involved,
I know. Much as I love him, I just disagreed with him on that one.
Yeah. It's already been established that it's not a taking, but I forget where I was going with that, but these Bill, Tom Livingston and Bill Ireland and I worked on this new demolition delay ordinance for a year. And this was the best we could get. It's better than the old one, but we couldn't get to 180 days.
who was it, just the council that didn't want to go past
Right.
180 days?
Because that
And
was
new
in the,
ca-
that is what we proposed.
Well, that's
120.
what's statutorily allowed under the state enabling statute for demolition delays is 180 days.
Ironically, it
100
was approved by Bob Duff.
It was a
180 or-
compromise.
Yeah,
So the state, let me just understand this. So the state says 180 days, but we've got what, 120 though, right?
right.
You can have up to 180 days. It used to be 90 days, and Todd and I got it changed to 120 days several years ago. And we tried again, but I think there were a couple. It wasn't just Ed. There was a couple of other council, at least one other council person, I think, who felt very strongly. But I think it was largely due to their experience with permitting their own house in the city. I don't know what the story was, but there was
Yeah.
some frustration on some experience which really didn't have anything to do with this. So
Right.
it misses the point. What they're always afraid of is it being misused? And
Yeah.
the reality is that it's so much trouble to do a public hearing, and we're all volunteers that we really only do it on the stuff that really matters. And you just can't seem to get that across to them. It's a taking. Oh my gosh, it's private property, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, well,
It's
but
like, well, how many public hearings have you read about in the newspaper from the Historical Commission in the last, 5 years? Can
or
anybody
even
remember
delay-
one? Yeah.
No.
So,
even delays? I mean, part of the, and I'm not sure that they do it, but part of the reg has always been that the buildings department has to produce a report at the end of the year to show how many actual demolition delays have been invoked. And in my recollection, one or two, maybe.
we've done more than that, but
No, not really. There are very few. There
How
are
many
very few.
demolitions a year do you think there are?
Pardon me?
How many demolitions do you think there are during the year?
I don't know. I mean, that's that, but the buildings has that information, and they're supposed to generate a
Yeah.
report. So whether or not they do it, I don't know, but we could go back a few years and take a look at that.
Speaking of ones over 50 years, I probably get 3 a month at least. And I'm not sure I was even aware of 11 Marvin Street. Usually I'll see either get a report or see it in the newspaper. In this case, Diane Cece noticed it and brought up that report. I brought up the delay. And as far as the council vote, I think it came to a point where it was mostly one person and kind of had a cave to that person. Otherwise, it would just be going on and on forever. This dilemma of 120 to 180 days. So 120 days was a compromise just to end the pain.
But the single biggest thing that will help us is to get to 180 days, especially with the bigger developers, because
Right.
6 months matters.
Yeah. It's got to be painful enough for them to actually pay attention. And Westport, for example, is 180 days.
Where those people are moved from. But
Yeah.
for example, those people were at the meeting last month thinking we would just happily grant them, to let them tear down the building the next day.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
realizing that we were that's not really our job. But that's happened before. And people think they just act.
I mean, maybe
Right.
where this is going is that there needs to be a procedure, instituted by the historical commission about how you proceed on properties where there is a demolition. So first of all, you decide to vote, the problem is that if you guys meet monthly, then the real time that it's not 120 days, it's really 90.
Yeah.
Right. Because
So-
11 Marvin, that guy showed up in my driveway the day after the meeting. So that was like,
He was
Yeah.
at my house too.
When he texted me, I don't know how you guys my phone number. It's all over the place. But you know, the other thing is,
public
I
record.
mean, maybe we need to reach people before they sell their house to these people. You know, because sometimes by the time it's already been sold and these people have these plans in their mind, it's like those aren't the people that we really can reach out to and people buy their property and they obviously should be allowed to do with it what they want, but maybe if it is designated, like the list that we're putting together of the historic homes in Norwalk.
But money talks.
Yeah, so I mean, I know. I don't know how to make what should be the right thing happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what you're talking about, it's interesting that what you're talking about is really information, to get information out to the right people. And for which, and I'm speaking without a vote here, but I think the Preservation Trust would be more than happy to work with you to, because we've been looking for programming ideas. Using as a starter, the Historical Society's list of plaque properties, and try to, do a seminar, webinar, some kind of presentation, because we need to raise in general, I think, the profile of historic preservation and what that means to individual property owners in various ways. You know where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I
And,
think that-
and people need to be reassured just because they get something designated as such that, doesn't prohibit them from making changes. I mean, maybe, getting back is expensive for people. I don't know, why more people don't do that, but.
Right, or that if you really are passionate about preserving your house, that there's ways to do it. There's easements, there's deed restrictions, which aren't as powerful as easements. There's a number of different mechanisms to do that. There's a number of different mechanisms to kind of do that in a less official and powerful way. But nobody knows that except us geeks,
Yeah, it's
But there's
almost like
gotta
there's
be-
two different
we have to-
camps. There's kind of the camp of people who like history and the people who are just buying it for the property, which I think is
right.
what we see
Mhm.
around here. What's becoming more of a thing around here because probably our closeness to New York City, et cetera, and all the money.
I mean, I was just sorry, but I was just in for an hour and a half in a zoning meeting for a project that I'm a consultant on in Silvermine, where the guy owns he has a large lot with 2 historic properties on it, one of which he lives in, and he wants to extend the Silvermine Tavern historic or village district to include his property so that he can build 3 new historically appropriate built houses and thereby protect the whole thing. This is really creative. It passed unanimously, by the way. But there's a lot of stuff that we could do on the PR side. And I think go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say is that I'm still stuck at the very beginning, is that what is the process that we should be going through to,
Yeah.
I mean, we have to have a starting point. And it seems like right now we wait till somebody comes and tells us that, by the way, in 2 weeks, we're going to tear this house down, and then we start thinking about it. And maybe and I think probably there's some outreach that has to be done. I think you mentioned before, Todd, that I don't know whether it's developers or whether it's real estate or whether it's the economic and economic and development and conservation department that should be in charge of this or get involved in it. That people know if a house is over 75 years old or over 100 years old, there's this vague chance that it could have some historic value or it could be connected to some historic event that happened at some point in time, and that maybe we should be alerted to it, or real estate people should be alerting us to something that triggers this commission to start to look into it and find out, is there anything that we should do about it? And if there's a vague chance that somebody knows something about it, or it appears on one of the historical society preservation list or something like that, then we put a temporary hold on it for at least 120 days until we could get it up to 180 days, and then we can start doing some. Then we know that we're working against the clock. But right now, if we wait till day 60, it's
exactly right. Exactly right. Well, the buildings department does send out an email to everybody that wants to be on the list, which I'm pretty sure includes Dana. I know I get them. I think the Historical Society gets them. I don't know. David, do you get them? The emails? He's off. But in any event, that should be the start of the process. And then, it might be worthwhile it's difficult for you guys because you're constrained by city requirements for public meetings and all of that. So you can't immediately respond. I can immediately respond and send it to, when I get it, I send it to my board. So does anybody think this is a problem? And,
But I mean, we could still, if Dana got an email tomorrow morning and sent it out to everybody on the commission, at least we'd know about it. We could start to take some action on it and say,
Right.
Yeah, we should look at it. We shouldn't look at it. What? And at least, by the first meeting, which is 30 days, at the 30-day mark, let's say it came tomorrow and now it's 30 days later, at least we could, we'd have at least 90 days to do something about it, as
Right.
opposed to
Sometimes we do get them right away, and sometimes Dana doesn't get them all.
well, that's what I'm saying.
You're supposed to send them all out.
Right. So, yeah, I don't get the emails anymore, Todd. And I don't think the Historical Society gets notified either. But that's what I used to, when I was on the commission, I used to get the emails. I would immediately go to the tax card and, look at Zillow and, and then I would send it out to the commission. And, usually 9 times out of 10, it's like, let's have a party and help them tear it down.
Yeah. That's what I said. It's only 1 or 2 a year.
But there were a lot I didn't know, and I'd send it out, and Lisa would pipe in, or Dana would say, oh, this was such and such, and turned out to be a amazing property. But that's why it's always good to get everybody's opinion, because people know things. I know that so the redevelopment agency, which I am on, is working on and Todd is involved, trying to somehow tackle developing the local resource inventory, and they're going out to bid again. The problem is everybody says, well, you should have a list of every historic house or building in Norwalk. Well, there's 35,000 buildings last time I talked to Bill Ireland, and you can get a grant for $20,000, and that'll cover 200 of them. So you do the math, and it's like 30 years to get there. So we're doing some work to try to figure that out and tackle it from that front, because yes, we should have the full list, but that's going to take some time to do. So that is being worked, but I think the process, if we can make sure we're getting the notices from Bill and then getting them out as quickly as possible, I think is a good idea. I also think that, just my 2 cents, I think it's best if the Preservation Trust or some person that is not a commissioner file the delay, because the commission is holding the public hearing.
Right.
And I don't think it doesn't really look good if the commissioner's holding
Right.
public hearing and also filed the delay. So
Yeah.
Well, and also
that's just
we're
my,
more flexible.
my 2 cents.
We're
Yeah,
more
that's a good
flexible.
point.
I mean, I can send out an email to my board and, you
Well,
know, and they,
and your
our
your
our
private
bylaws allow them to vote, you know, via
Yeah.
email.
you're a private entity. I mean, you can do anything you want. You're not
Right.
you're not a city representative like the commissioners are.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier for us to do that. But, you know, and all of you guys should have access to the National Register listings for Norwalk and the Historic Resource Inventory and the State Register. All of that is, except for the local Historic Resource Inventory, there's a new mapping, a GIS mapping system that's provided by the state called CONCRIS, CONNCRIS, which is a GIS map of every state and National Register historic district and property in the state. So that's a big help. There's the local historic resource inventory, which was done piecemeal over the last 30 years. But I think redevelopment is taken on the task of, you know, kind of unifying that. And also going, as David said, going out to bid to try to find a consultant to figure out a way to expand that. But it ain't cheap.
Yeah.
Because it's a
Just
Well, I
lot
for
got
of
this right.
example,
If
I,
I got this, go ahead, Dana.
sorry, I did get an email from Spinnaker today that they would like to tear down 1 Cemetery Street. I'm fairly certain that none of us is going to object to that, which is the bank building in East Norwalk.
Which
Oh.
building is it? I'm sorry.
The bank building in East Norwalk near the ice cream place.
The Wells Fargo building.
The old
Yes.
Wells Fargo property.
Right.
Ah,
But you were saying, Jim? Sorry.
Well, that obviously has no historic value, but,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's
So
a
I guess my
thing that
question,
could turn into, but that building that's there is no historic. value.
So the problem is, how do we know what's going to be put up? And that's really
But we
out
know
of our
exactly.
purview.
what's
That's
gonna
the
be
Yeah,
problem.
yeah, we do know what's going up, but
The Spinnaker development. We know exactly what's going on there. It already went through zoning.
Yeah.
yeah.
okay. Jim's
So
trying to talk. Yeah.
going back to this, so basically what we're really saying is that the CC memo or email that was sent in, she should have been the one that asked for a public hearing on this.
Hmm.
And then we would have granted a public hearing. And then we would have to make up our mind whether there was proof enough to deny whether they could tear this thing down or not.
No, that's not right.
The other thing, when somebody
the,
does. Sorry.
sorry, just the process, the person requests the delay. They don't have to ask the commission to hold a public hearing or not. That's completely the commission's decision to hold a public hearing. That
Okay.
you don't have to have the citizen ask for
Be
that. Just want to make
advised.
that clear.
But we
Okay,
weren't
okay.
advised that she even did that until like last meeting it came up. So, you know,
Yeah.
when somebody does that, we should know right away. So that we
Yeah,
can ask what their information is, why they're doing that, and then, and I think she complained that we didn't do anything about that.
Which is right.
Wait, I didn't even know about it until we happened to mention at the last meeting.
Yeah.
Well, that's
until we
one of the,
said-
I'm sorry, but I think that's a missing link, and it's a good thing that you're bringing that up. Because the buildings department sends out the notification that somebody's got applying for a demo permit for a building that's 50 years old or older. However, they don't tell anybody whether or not a delay has been imposed.
Right.
So
So-
Michelle, do you get these emails?
Yeah, Dana and I are linked on the emails. And I'm happy to work with you, Jim, or anybody else that's interested in kind of possibly, I guess this is like almost like a bylaw of the ordinance. And work with law office and some people from the commission to come up with a link, some kind of structure that says these are the steps of when a delay is put in, then like what's required for who's putting in the delay, what's the requirements of the commission, what you can and cannot do, and spell that all out so it's a little more clear for the public, the commission, and everybody involved.
Yeah, let me go back and talk to Tom Livingston about this, because he was the one that worked on the latest version of the ordinance, I guess.
Right.
I'm on the ordinance committee, by the way, so I should know about this stuff.
Yeah.
So
And
let me
And
go
having
back
those
and-
steps, will definitely help. Cause that's one of the things I always felt like we put a demo delay and then what? Cause like I've said it before. What are we doing? What's going on? What's the next steps? So
Yeah.
at least if we have a structure, that'll make things clearer for what we can and can't do. And then I guess obviously it has to be addressed in the bylaws, what our actions can be also.
Right.
Is there a separate set of bylaws in addition to this ordinance?
No.
No. So the only thing that we have is just the ordinance.
Correct.
Well, and I think you could do this informally. I don't think it has to be.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I mean, that's just a committee procedures, that's all. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, and the other part of it is, to put it out there, maybe somebody would want the building and move it somewhere. Nobody really talks about that because it's so expensive these days. But it's like one of those things that, maybe something doesn't have to get demolished and just go away. Maybe
Yeah.
it'd be moved somewhere.
Somebody could buy it.
But if nobody knows about it, then that opportunity is lost.
Yeah, so it's awareness of, I guess we need to spread awareness through town that we need to be aware of our city fabric, so to speak, is being removed piecemeal. And also, as far as historic value, that for us, it doesn't matter what the inside of the house looks like. It doesn't have to be a museum. Just as like that, 11 Marvin has good bones. So it does look like something that's been in Norwalk since 1875, and it has had some things tacked on, but overall it's a nice look versus what's going on, which is sort of cookie cutter. So that's kind of what we're trying to preserve and discourage, because that's our job, to make people think twice about coming to Norwalk I'm thinking in my mind, I'm thinking people that have moved here from New Canaan and Westport and claim to be historically minded, but then I guess they come to Norwalk to buy our cheap property and do whatever they want. So, and put up something not.
Silvermine, I would say,
Yeah.
what's going on in Silvermine right now.
Yeah.
Okay,
So.
great. Well, so bottom line is that we're not gonna do anything. The clock is gonna run out and they'll
Yeah,
tear the house down.
This is a a mini Penn Station for us, I think, if we approach it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, Penn Station was demolished in 1963. In the national law that established what we know of as the legal basis for pretty much all historic preservation is the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966. So Penn Station created this whole structure, the demolition of Penn Station. Not that this building is Penn Station, but it'll
Really
do at the moment. But,
Won't find out until they tear it down.
yeah.
Okay.
I guess
Very
I'd
good.
also like them to do a title search. What is that called? Is that the official name? I mean,
Yeah.
if we'd like
Yeah.
that, why can't they do that? Because they don't feel like?
Well,
that-
even if they did, it wouldn't matter because they want to tear it down and build a McMansion.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
And-
it's a
and
modest farmhouse.
But anybody can do a title search too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm terrible at it, but Darren is really good. She is lightning fast. I've never seen anybody like
Okay. All right, kind of beat that to death.
So
Uh,
maybe your action item is to create a procedure for.
Yeah, what I'll do, if it be before the next meeting, I'll go talk to Tom Livingston, get some background on what, he's got some historical information. And maybe if I need more information, David seems to be a good source of information as well, so.
Right.
Yeah,
And I'm
Jim,
happy to
and
help like
if
that.
you could just loop me in on that being
Oh,
the
yeah,
staff
definitely.
person, that'd be great.
definitely.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, if I don't have the answer, I'll make it up. I'm really good at that.
Yeah, that's good enough, really.
That is bad.
Oh, never mind.
You've never lied to me before, so I don't see why not. So.
Well, I'll just say it's what Todd told me.
Okay.
Okay. Well, now we can, I think we're done with that A of old business. And we're sort of already segueing into establishing a historical district and historic district commission. So how do we want to go about that? And again, I guess we could be working with the Preservation Trust on that. If they're
Well,
willing.
You'd have to hire a consultant, not
Okay.
me, to create this. I mean, since there's now a fairly substantial legal opinion that says, yeah, it exists, but no, it doesn't, more or less. You have to hire a consultant to write the district, which would require revision of the stuff that already exists. And local historic district is extremely powerful. So Historic District Commission has design review over anything visible from a public way in a local historic district. There are also some requirements about who needs to be on the commission, what professional requirements need to be on there in order to fulfill those requirements and others. And also it has to have approval of over 50% of the property owners in the district. So it's not an easy lift, but it's doable because they're all over the place. I mean, I think Westport has 6 of them, maybe more. So that's what you'd have to do.
Yeah.
And I think taking a look at this, the first initial step is kind of going back to that educational piece. I think before we go ahead, get a consultant all queued up, we go for a vote, gets downvoted, the city spent all this money on a plan and all this stuff. So I think we start coordinating city agencies for educational, who's going to be in the district. Maybe start talking to folks who own properties, what do they mean to own these properties in this district, and kind of get people on a good side of, before we do all this work. So yeah, I think just putting it on the agenda today, get the conversation started. And I mean, it's unfortunate that after talking to SHPO and the law office saying that the historic green district at the local level isn't enforceable. So you have to kind of restart that process. But, the footprint is there. We just kind of have to pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We have to
That's what it-
designate
you-
a geographic district and fit buildings in, or can it be citywide?
It exists
would-
at the west side of the, or the south, the east side, the west side of the green.
Yeah, you would draw a specific bound of what properties would be in the district, which wouldn't be in the district. And then I think eventually maybe doing other pockets within the city could definitely probably
Yeah.
use a district. But I guess we'll just start with the green district since there's a lot of legwork already done and a lot of properties in there worth value. So we'll start there and then maybe other places as well.
An easy place to start actually would be Fodor Farm, because that already went through a study committee, and you know, the whole structure and all the research has already been done. And city owns, you know, the one building, and the other two buildings are already under the same kind of restrictions that a local historic district would have. And you guys actually function as a historic district commission for Fodor Farm, except not officially. That one would be really easy. And then you might be able to use that to leverage something else.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You just have to talk to the two property owners. I mean, they've, you know, the legal department at the time so deed restricted their properties, they may be just completely fed up with any kind of control. Seriously. I mean, Todd, do you remember, you know,
Yeah.
the city was at the time was so against a historic district commission and local historic district, but they made it worse for the property owners because the deed restrictions were much more onerous than anything the district commission would have ever done.
Not
I'm
really.
sure.
They're
Yeah,
not really. They're
They were
almost
bad.
identical. I mean, I wrote some of them. I mean,
I know, but they were beyond.
no,
So
not that I remember, but
Well,
I could be
I
wrong.
remember. I remember you were unhappy with it as well.
Well, some of it, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, so here's a chance to revise that, and all the. I mean, it's in a file cabinet behind me. There's not in that house. But you know, it's a chance to look at it again. But I mean, it's, you know, the city already owns a third of the properties there, and they've already got deed restrictions. So, you know, in terms of you know, something as an example, that would be a really good one, and it'd be easy to do.
So you'd only need one. You'd only need one of the
Just
two
making
property
it
owners.
That property, or are you talking about the district, like I live right near Fodor Farm in like Flax Hill, all those homes, like that would be a part of what you're talking about, or are you just talking about Fodor Farm?
You could do that. It would be harder than just doing the three houses.
Right. And you're talking about 322 and 310, which kind of are on the line from the Fodor house.
And yeah, and Doug
Look down
Peoples.
hill. Yeah, okay. Oh, Doug Peoples, okay, his behind there, okay.
So the city-owned house, the one next to it, and Doug Peoples' house.
Okay. On
Is that
25
the Fraser
Pogany
Peak
Street.
house?
Doug Peoples' house is on Pogany Street. I'm probably not saying it right.
Yeah, Pogany, yeah.
Pogany, yeah.
But there's the Fraser Peter house too, that's right adjacent.
Yeah, that's also interesting, but that's on Aviation Court.
Haydick?
Yeah, or Haydick, I mean, sorry.
Well, I mean, because since you're going to open this whole can of worms, and you can start looking.
Right. The house, 338 Flax Hill is also quite nice. Interesting. But yeah, it does get, I know when we were trying to do at Rowayton Historical, or Historic Rowayton, it's trying to do, again, Wendell took this on herself to, it's taken years to get things to get through the state for getting a historic district side. Rowayton Avenue, the train station district.
Yeah, I know, I wrote it.
Yeah. But yeah, Fodor Farm sounds like a good idea to start with.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good start. A lot of the work's already been done, and you can expand or contract it as possible. But I mean, Michelle makes a great point, which is before you want to make sure you get the property owners on board before you get too crazy with it.
Right.
So yeah, and I spoke to the redevelopment agency because I know they were working on that historical inventory, and I told them about the project of, restarting that process for Historic District Commission. So we're gonna have a meeting and coordinate if there's any overlap or, what we can do educational wise and just be in the loop with kind of concurrent projects potentially. So I can get us started on this and update you guys on next steps and as it goes along.
Yeah, it'd be great if you could include the Preservation Trust in some of that too, if you like, because we're really interested in expanding the educational and PR part of this, because it's been asleep for too long.
That's great.
Yeah. Get people to love their town.
Yeah.
Okay, are we ready for Are we ready for new business? No one's.
I have some new business.
Okay.
It has to do with,
I was wondering when you were gonna, I
has
was
to do with the
wondering when you were gonna
piano.
speak up.
and the good bones and the cemeteries of the demolition. All those things it ties into, and that is the old Naramake home, which was the Alms House Cemetery.
And the town farm.
And the town farm. There was one location before, but then in 1869, one was built, which is now the Naramake School. It was called the Naramake Home. It was there until 1951 was the end of the Alms House. And there were at least 95 burials that are confirmed as to being there with our Norwalk City records and with the work that Dana and Holly did about 10 years ago.
And also Sharon Soltis.
But I've come across a few other names that aren't on that, so it's at least 95. In 1887, the problem is we don't know where exactly the cemetery was. But I've spent days now looking over all the Norwalk hours that mentioned Poorhouse, Naramake Home, and Alms House Cemetery. And I found it.
I just want to add, Lisa, that what we're talking about, the property that was all Naramake School and probably Norwalk High School was the Alms House that worked as a working farm. Had lots of buildings, but Holly and I went through, Holly Kazone, former commissioner here, went through the field cards and couldn't find anything. It was just the buildings were listed, nothing about where the cemetery was. So go back to your part of the story.
Well, the problem is there's several descriptions over the years and there's a different number of acres mentioned. So I think the first part need to go back into like maybe all the neighboring properties and trying to figure out what exactly the extent is of the property back then. In 1887, I found, the first time I found anybody talking about it, there's a description of the house and the people there, and it's a very long, interesting dialogue. But the part that was interesting to me was when they say one of the saddest spots on the town farm is the Potter's Field, located in an out-of-the-way corner. There are a dozen or more graves, some unmarked and others have rough stones at the head and the foot. 3 white marble slabs stand in a row. They are furnished by the state to mark the graves of veterans of the war. The bodies are buried somewhere in the vicinity, but until recently, no record was kept of dead paupers. The graves are not properly marked and there's no way of identifying them. The grave of William Fisher is decorated in a homely way by several huge sunflower plants, which spring from the soil over his resting place. So I looked at a 1959 photograph of the overall picture of the Naramake and Norwalk High site, and I can surmise what might have been an out-of-the-way corner. It wouldn't have been where the home was itself, but I don't know what corner. I got particularly concerned about this, and not to bog down any new school buildings or anything, but there's a quiet corner that I would think that might be it, is where they're planning to dig down for this new Norwalk High School. And if it might have been another area like where the football field is, I don't think they wouldn't have gone down 6 feet or in the parking lot areas. So I think there's still a chance that we might be able to identify some of the undisturbed areas to see if there might be some skeletons there. I mean, I'm sure the remains would not be in great shape, being paupers. They're probably pine box and have deteriorated, but I would like to see possibly some GPR, ground penetrating radar, possibly identifying the area, an area of going in the undisturbed areas. And if so, have it kind of figured out before they start digging for this school. And I don't know what happens if they start finding skeletons, what happens with that. So that's kind of my research in progress.
It might be better if we could get some kind of GPR now, because again, you're not going to see any specific. You're not going to see, and I'll get you, Todd. You're not going to see skulls or skeletons. You're going to see an anomaly. You're going to see a shaft.
Right.
That's what you see. It looks like nothing to the untrained eye.
We did it, but we did it with Pine Island.
It's Pine Island.
Yeah.
For those of us that didn't see what went on at Pine Island many years ago, about to do with Crescent Street, but if we could get a ground penetrating now, it would help things move along faster in the future. And Todd, let's hear what Todd has to say.
Okay, well, I was just going to say you should talk to Kathy Labadia at the SHPO.
Okay.
And if she is not the person, she knows who is.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I've been in conversations with Alan Lowe. He's been kind of all over it. I keep sending him pictures and what more I find, but he's probably happy to make it not be this, make this the old Almshouse Cemetery location, which predates the dates of the death dates that we know that are indicated as being buried there. So it's a little bit of it's like a known and an unknown. It's like a known that there are people there. There's no record of any removals. But, a faraway corner, that's kind of, that's a better description than I've ever, I haven't really seen any other place about the property mentioned before. So that was encouraging.
So Lisa, we talked about this the other day. Is this where the football field is, or is this where the softball field is at Merrimack now?
Well, I don't know exactly where the
Really
place
don't
is,
know.
but the only place that's not been disturbed is the far corner towards the synagogue. And I walked around there. I was looking at all the stone walls. I was kind of trespassing on the Jewish on the synagogue, and someone passed by. I was telling her what I was doing. She's like, "We better tell them, because they're, with all that's going on in the world, they're going to be worried. Like you're like looking in their property." So I saw the rabbi there, and he was very nice. He was very interested in this, and I saw a lot of flat stones that maybe could be it. I didn't see any smoking gun, any inscriptions. I didn't find the 3 white marble Civil War ones that are mentioned in this 1887 article. I called Jeff DeWitt to see if he might know who they are. Maybe somebody found those and moved them to some other place. But anyway, it's a little bit of a research in progress here. But in the meantime, I don't want that to be dug up if we can find something in that corner that's not disturbed.
Yeah, I was walking around there today, and there's those berms, which are, why they're there, I don't know. But then there's
the rabbi told me that that berm there at the end of the football field was added to as a buffer for the neighbors.
Right. There's kind of 3 berms. I don't know why they didn't just make one berm, but it looks like there was also a pathway to the tennis courts at some point. And also this little space, it must be an in holding or someone else's
Those
property.
berms were
where-
built, because I was going to Norwalk High when they built that field. Because I was
Mhm.
the first graduating class on that field.
Right.
So they put those there. It was pretty much whatever they scraped off the field, they just mounded there. And
Right,
so a lot of that is just scraped up dirt from where they built the field,
right.
and this left them in those
But,
corners.
I mean, I don't know the procedure for putting in a football field, but I tend to think that they didn't go below 6 feet down in doing that.
Just for the footings, I think for the bleachers,
Yeah,
because
maybe.
they took those
maybe
bleachers from Andrews
there's a
Field and moved
drainage
them
pipe.
over.
But anyway, there's a chance that we might be able to identify the area, and I thought, well, I would like these people to just rest in peace and maybe, recognize them. I mean, nobody seems to care about poor people, especially dead poor people, but there was somebody on Facebook whose great grandmother is one of the names that was
Yep.
buried there, and I ought to just ask her if in the family, if they've ever pointed to the spot.
Well, I think it's a real priority to find out what's down there before they get going, before they
Right.
get this all cranked up, because they're gonna start digging next year sometime.
Right.
So
Or even
it's better-
December, because that's what, I saw something about December. And so that kind of put the red flag up that I've gone to that property over the years after Dana and Holly told me about it, and always sort of looking around, but now if they're gonna, disrupt any remaining area, we should, now's the time to kind of figure that out.
Lisa, you mentioned GPR. Have you also considered looking at LiDAR?
No, I don't know about that.
LiDAR is a laser mapping system. If you read, a lot of these old archaeological sites have been discovered with the use of LiDAR. And what it does is it's a laser grid mapping of the surface level, but it picks up soil disturbances. So if you had old foundations where that area settled, you actually get a layout of old foundations, and the same thing with graves. And it's without having to go over the space in grid pattern like a ground penetrating radar, but it might give you ground markers that might point you in a certain direction.
Well, I don't know how to make this happen, I guess.
I guess we'll
Talk to Kathy.
contact Kathy tomorrow. Send her an email.
I mean, I feel like whoever the engineer is, originally, they should have had all this information in their report, but
Well,
if all this other details in there.
Lisa, did any of the stones that you mentioned you saw on the ground, did any of them did they look like they were in rows?
No.
No, that's
I-
usually a hint. You can see that at Mill Hill. You'll see
No,
rows of
I didn't
just
see
stones in the
anything-
ground. Those are
anything-
markers.
No, I didn't see anything, so I don't know exactly where exactly it was, but I was looking over their stone walls. I was looking to see, if they had been cast aside, because if Pauper's graves, and even in this article, it had mentioned, mark rough stones at head and foot, so thin stones that look like, it could have been there, and then if people didn't know it was a cemetery, they didn't want anybody to know it's a cemetery, they could have just plowed over and added it to a
Yep.
stone.
yeah, field
Oh,
stones
yeah.
are often overlooked. And
Did
it-
you look at the land records at all for these addresses? Because they're
I have
often
them now. I have them.
they're often old surveys attached to them as well. Holly found the one survey. She found a bunch of surveys of Pine Island Cemetery, and one of them had the I don't know how to say this publicly, the stillborn babies area of Pine Island
Mhm.
denoted on it, which is why we know that then the state just
Right.
built the Route 7 connector over it. But I'm thinking there might be a survey somewhere in the vault outside of Rick
Right.
McQuaid's office.
Dude,
But
I
I
wonder
couldn't
if
tell you
it-
how to get to it.
I was
it-
there for a while and I confirmed a lot of the names on Find a Grave. I did about half of them and they all checked out in order of the books there of the embalmers. There's like embalmers record.
Yeah, but this is you go and you access their computer system by the address of the old poorhouse or the old, whatever the address was.
Right. Well,
And you track it down that way.
And I went to the building department, but it's been owned, so it's exempt from taxes for so long that
Right.
that property is not.
we probably want
ones.
building-
I just made a note of all of the numbers for that because I thought maybe if I go by the adjacent owners
Yeah.
too, might get
Yeah.
to what it used to be.
Original plans from, for Narragansett, or I wonder if even Patsy's been around in town long enough to remember when it was built.
It's 1962. And
might be
somebody on
1960.
Facebook, her father was a plumber and she knows that it was suspended for 3 weeks for archaeology because there's Native American artifacts.
So there's gotta be a record of that at the SHPO, and you're talking about the Route 7 connector, there has to be somewhere a record at the, because of the Connecticut Environmental Policy Act,
Right.
or Section 106, or Section 4F of the of the National Historic Preservation Act, or Section 4F of the National Highway. I mean, there's a bunch of bureaucratic requirements for dealing with a sensitive area like that.
Right.
Whether or not anybody can find that stuff is
Right.
another question.
But if they were unmarked graves too there, they might have just, I know
Well,
construction.
I'm just talking about the
just go
highway.
over it.
School is another story.
Yeah,
So anyway, I'd like to get some kind of research done on that. Well, this LiDAR sounds LiDAR, GPR, whatever is available to do that. And I don't know, like, who would pay for that?
There may be grants, or the state, like I say, I keep bringing up Kathy Labadia. She may hate me for this, but she will know how to approach this.
right.
Yeah, well, when Nick Bellantoni was state archaeologist, I just called him. He did Pine Island for free. He did Kellogg Comstock for free. They just came down and did it. We never got a bill.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't know, Kathy is the only person that I know personally in that structure that I don't know who the new Nick is,
It's
And
Sarah
Brian-
Sportsman's, but I don't know her, and she was not really helpful or responsive on
Well,
the whole walk
I
bridge
actually
thing.
did send her an email about it early on, but maybe I'll call her or follow up that way.
Yeah.
Did she reply?
No,
Yeah,
Is she-
typical.
and
Is she-
my intent is not to bog down this project. I have no opinion really about the high school itself. I just, before they start digging deep in that area, if we don't figure it out, they probably will. And then I don't know what the process is if they run into stuff, like what they even do with skeletal remains.
Well, the problem is that it just holds everything up it
Yeah.
could be a month or two. It would hold things up until they straighten it all out. So it's so much better to find out now,
Right.
spend the money now before you have to put all the construction people on the side of the road and tell them to stand there and not do anything.
I know it could delay the project for years, actually.
Yeah,
And if you find a body, you have to notify the state archaeologist. They have to come and document, and they
Yeah.
work with the SHPO to determine what to do. But if there's a pauper's field in it, you're going to have to move the high school. You'll
Yeah.
redesign to move it. That's the answer.
Mhm.
So,
The public is gonna freak out about this anyway.
so, is this woman that you sent the email to, Lisa, is she at the state level?
Yeah, Sportman.
So why don't we get Bob Duff involved in this too? I don't mind calling him up and say, hey, look, we have this could be a potential delay in putting the school in. So why don't we get this
Yeah.
little this little bump in the road out of the way.
Yeah,
And,
That's a good
if
idea.
you give me the name of the person that you're trying to get a hold of. I'll talk to Duff tomorrow. Tomorrow,
Okay,
yeah. I
that
can
would be
help.
great. That would be great. I mean, it's his project, the school.
Exactly. How's it gonna look if Bob Duff's high school doesn't get built?
And I'm pretty sure
Joking,
Sarah,
I'm joking.
I'm pretty sure Sarah Sportsman's going to return his call.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
Okay. Just send me the detail of who she is and what she
Yeah.
does, and I'll follow up with him tomorrow.
okay, I will. Thank you.
Good. See, if now I have something to do tomorrow.
Oh. All right, well, is there anything else? I guess that's all I have to say at this point about that. And I know it's late, everyone's probably tired.
Just stop looking, Lisa.
Obsessed. All weekend long, I was reading the Norwalk Hours from 1865. Very interesting. A lot of people got hit by trains.
Actually,
Yeah.
I found an article, in the 1886 or something like that. I was doing some research on Hoyt Island and found out that the mayor of New York at the time, in 1886, 1887, owned Hoyt Island.
Huh.
And could never figure out why. And then found out that he was a guy, his name was, and I forget his name now, but he was the guy that was the mayor, and no, not Hamilton. But he was fighting at Tammany Hall, and all the other Tammany Hall henchmen all had estates up
Yeah.
here in Connecticut,
Yeah. It was
Greenwich, and
Caesar.
even in Norwalk. Yeah,
In Norwalk, too.
yeah, Norwalk as
Yeah.
well.
Like
And he
Nancy
was,
Pillen.
and the mayor, this guy who was the mayor, and I just pulling a blank on his name right now. He's the guy who hired Teddy Roosevelt to be the first commissioner, police commissioner in New York. But he owned Hoyt Island for about a year and a half, 2 years.
Oh, interesting.
Useless information.
But a lot of times it all connects somehow. That's what I found. Useless stuff.
But the
Abram
Norwalk Hour
Hewitt?
had all that information.
Was it Abram Hewitt?
No, it was
What year was it?
about 1887, 1886, that area.
86 was Hewitt. Let's see if I can.
No, he was the mayor of New York City.
Yeah, that's why I look it up. Because I have this thing called a computer in my other hand. Okay, let's make it go back.
It was
Follow
Norwalk.
up with that later, Dana.
Yeah, don't worry. Let's not stay here until.
Yeah. I make a motion to move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Anyone else? I bet.
All you need
Where's
is
Eric?
one.
Isn't Eric Reeves? Okay, here. Oop. I can't see their hands.
Oh, we're all in favor?
Yeah. Aye.
Hi. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank
Thanks very
you.
much.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Good
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.